It was the most spectacular and most wonderful holiday of the year. Christmas had arrived, and it was the most celebrated holiday in Earthrealm. Christmas was a time of happiness, joy, and being together as a family. Well, I think it is. All the denizens of Earthrealm were getting prepared for the wonderful holiday, carrying presents and decorations. Not only was it just Earthrealm, but all the other realms celebrated Christmas, except the Netherrealm, sadly. But whatever the case, Christmas was the best holiday of all. Meanwhile, at Raiden's home, Raiden was busy decorating the interior of his home with Christmas decorations, wreaths, stockings, wreath streamers, and a whole bunch of other decorations. Ashra was in the kitchen baking cookies, with little Raniko was sitting on the table licking the spoon. Ashra wiped her forehead, which left a little flour on her head. Raniko giggled and pointed at the top of his mother's head. Ashra gave a soft laugh and wiped the flour off her face and picked up the little Raniko, who was still holding the mixing spoon. Ashra entered the living room to see the interior fully decorated. "Wow, honey, the room looks spectacular," Ashra commented as she placed Raniko on the couch next to a teddy bear. Raiden walked up to his wife and stood next to her. "I believe it does," he replied, and he looked around the room. Ashra looked down to see a star next to her right foot. She bent down and picked it up. "You forgot to put the star on top of the tree," Ashra said, as she held the star in front of Raiden's face. Raiden groaned softly and took it out of Ashra's hands, approaching the tree. He placed the star on top of the tree and walked back to Ashra. "Better?" he asked. Ashra tilted her head to the side. "It's not glowing," she commented with her arms crossed. "Doesn't matter, sweetie?" he asked. "Yes, it does," she replied. "Well, it doesn't matter as long as we have the star on top, right?" "Well, I like it when it glows." Raiden gave a heavy sigh. Raniko looked up at the star and smiled brightly. He waved his little arms up and down and shot a bolt of lightning at the object, causing it to glow brightly. Ashra and Raiden looked up to see the glowing star. "You see, Raniko agrees with me that the glowing star does matter," Ashra said, before heading back to the kitchen. Raiden shook his head and looked at his son. Raniko was still licking the spoon and smiling at his father. Raiden smiled warmly when the door knocked. I wonder who can that be?" he said, as he picked up little Raniko in his arms and walked towards the door. He opened it and was surprised to see Sub-Zero, Katana, Jade, and a pissed-off Scorpion, who, by the way, was wearing a Santa hat. "Merry Christmas!" all of them said in illusion, except for Scorpion, who merely grunted in annoyance. "Roniko!" Jade squealed as she took the baby in her arms and walked inside the house, followed by the others. "Well, this is unexpected," Raiden said as he closed the door. "Yeah, well, Christmas isn't about getting together, is it?" Sub-Zero said, as he sat next to Jade, who was busy playing with Raniko. "Honey, who was at the door?" Ashra called from the kitchen. "It was just Sub-Zero, Jade, Katana, and Scorpion," Raiden called back. Raiden took a seat next to Scorpion and gave him a questioning look. "What's up with the hat?" Scorpion glared at the god before giving a reply. "I was forced to wear this by that princess." He spat angrily, glaring at Katana. Katana returned the glare. "Oh, come on, Scorpion. It may feel silly, but I think it looks adorable on you." "Whatever," Scorpion said bitterly, and went back to his sulking. "Ah, you're just grumpy Christmas-hating specter," Katana retorted. "What the hell did you just call me?" Scorpion nearly shouted with anger tinting in his voice. "You heard me," Katana gave him a smirk. "Why, you little... Who wants cookies?" Ashra said as she walked into the living room, carrying a plate full of warm, fresh cookies. "We do," Katana and Jade said simultaneously. Jade handed Raniko to Scorpion and ran up to Ashra along with Katana to get some cookies. Sub-Zero stood up and walked over to get a cookie for himself. Scorpion held little Raniko in his arms and looked down towards the infant, who was staring up at him with his deep brown eyes. Those eyes reminded Scorpion of his son's eyes back when he was alive. Raniko, who somewhat could sense Scorpion's sadness, hugged him. Scorpion was appalled by the affection. Hugged back, Sub-Zero was the first one to notice and gave a warm smile. "Hey guys, look at this!" Sub-Zero pointed to Scorpion, where Jade, Katana, and Ashra averted their eyes towards the specter. Raiden only smiled and walked into the kitchen. "Aw, that was so adorable!" Jade squealed. "I know, isn't it?" Katana remarked. Then there was a knock at the door. Sub-Zero walked over and opened it to reveal Kunlao, Kenshi, Ermac, Sindel, Jax, Sonia, and Johnny, whom were all carrying boxes of presents. "We're here!" Sonia exclaimed, walking inside carrying 2 blue boxes followed by the others. "Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all," Raiden greeted. "Oh, cookies!" Sonia ran up to Ashra and grabbed at least 9 of the plate. "Pfft, fatty," Johnny snickered. "What did you just say?" Sonia shouted at Johnny, her calisthenics ready drawn out. "I didn't say anything," Johnny defended. However, Sonia didn't bat an eyelid and smacked Johnny across the face, knocking him down. "Ow," he muttered. Sonia put her calisthenics away and began eating the cookies. "So what's in the box?" Raiden asked. "Presents, of course, but we can't open them till tomorrow," Sindel replied, waving a finger. "Aw, that's not fair," Johnny whined like a child. "You're such a baby, Johnny," Jax teased. He is tossing a cookie into his mouth. "You're mean, you metal-armed freak," Johnny retorted. "Why, you know what you're getting for Christmas. 2 black eyes and a broken leg." Jax tossed the cookies onto the ground and cracked his metal knuckles. Johnny squealed like a little girl and hid behind Raiden. "Save me," he said in a pathetic and whiny tone. Raiden sighed and walked away, leaving Johnny exposed. "He's all yours." Johnny gulped and bolted out the door, with a very pissed-off Jax following closely behind. "Well, now that the 2 morons are gone, instead of opening presents tomorrow, how about each of us open 1, and just 1 gift for tonight?" Sonia suggested, her mouth covered in cookie crumbs. Sonia, you might want to clean up your face. It's covered in crumbs," Kenshi said, before eating a cookie. "Thanks, Kenshi. Wait a minute. How can you see the crumbs on my face?" Sonia asked. Kenshi fidgeted a bit before muttering inaudible words. "What did you just say?" Sonia asked. "He said that he's got a big whatever, and I think the present thing is a good idea," Sindel butted in, taking another cookie. Okay. Anyways, I think that's also a great plan. What do the rest of you guys think?" Ermac asked the others in the room. The others looked at each other before nodding their heads and agreeing at the idea. "Okay, that's a great idea. We should all open 1 present," Kunlao said, taking a bite out of the cookie. "Okay, so it's settled then. We all open at least 1 at midnight," Raiden said happily, looking at the clock and seeing it was only 9:50 p.m. "We have at least 3 hours till then. What do you guys want to do now?" They all pondered for a moment, until Sub-Zero snapped his fingers and raised his hand. "Yes, Sub-Zero?" Raiden asked. "Snowball fight!" he exclaimed happily. "Okay, but 1 problem. It's not snowing," Kitana pointed out. "Hello, Grandmaster of Ice. I can create ice and also snow, so leave it to me," Sub-Zero replied cockily. "Show off," Scorpion muttered, Ranako in his arms squirming about. "Whatever, I could just make it snow," Sub-Zero retorted before heading out the door. "Hey, whatever happened to Jax and Johnny?" Kenshi asked. Suddenly the door burst open, with a beat-up Johnny flying in and landing in a bloody beaten pulp. Jax came in wiping his knuckles clean and sitting down next to Sonia. "What happened?" she asked. "Well, I couldn't give him 2 black eyes or break his legs, so I just grabbed him by the hair, threw him onto the ground, and beat him up. And then I threw him at the door," Jax replied. "Well, yeah, now you owe me a new door," Ashra said bluntly as she smacked Jax on the head. "Anyway, a snowball fight sure sounds fun." "Well, let's go," Sub-Zero said happily, and ran out the door. "Hey, you hit my breasts!" Kitana shouted as she rolled another snowball and hurled it at Ermac. Ermac telepathically stopped the snowball and hurled it towards Scorpion. "Hey, no fair using your powers!" Scorpion scowled and threw another snowball at Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero got hit in the face. "Cold!" he shouted as he wiped his face off. "Oh, please! You're the master of ice, and you can't even handle a snowball? How pathetic!" Scorpion taunted. Sub-Zero pouted before shooting another ice blast under Scorpion's feet. Scorpion began slipping on the ice and fell down on his ass. "Why you Scorpion shouted as he struggled to stand up but fell back down. Jade and Kitana couldn't help laughing, with Scorpion glaring at the 2 women. Meanwhile, Raiden, Ashra, and Ranako were making a snowman. "Okay, here's the last eye," Raiden said before placing the black stone on the snowman's face. "There, it looks perfect," Ashra commented on the snowman. "What do you think, Ranako?" Ranoko giggled happily before shooting a lightning bolt at a snowman, causing it to blow up. Aw, Ranoko, the Raiden chuckled after Ranoko blew up the snowman. Ew, the carrot nose is in my hair, Ashra remarked, removing the burnt carrot out of her dark hair. Suddenly, snowballs began pelting them. Raiden got in front of Ashra and the baby and created a light force field, protecting them. Who's throwing snowballs? Raiden asked angrily as more snowballs were being hurled at them. We are, Kenshi and Ermac sent an illusion, using their telekinetic powers to throw snowballs. Incoming! Sindel shouted as she pushed Ermac out of the way and knocking him to the ground. Kenshi stopped throwing snowballs until a snowball knocked him down. Jax, who had his machine gun, loaded it with snow and began shooting snowballs at the others. Say hello to my little friend, he shouted happily as he began shooting down the snow at the defenseless warriors. Scorpion, who hid behind a tree, rolled up some snow and threw it at Jax, hitting him in the face. Jax fell down, dropping his gun as well. The others then ran out of their hiding places and carrying snowballs and began assaulting Jax with a huge barrage of snow. Sonia then came out of the house. Hey you guys, it's midnight! Suddenly, the snowball had hit their face. She wiped her face clean and looked really pissed. I would be too if someone threw a snowball at my face. Who threw that? She asked angrily. Kenshi, who whistled innocently, kicking his foot to the snow and hands behind his back. What? Present time! Sonia exclaimed happily. Everyone returned inside the house, ready to open a single present, and because Ashra made hot chocolate. The first to open the present was Kenshi. It was from Ermac. He opened his box and took out a new sheath for his katana. What is it? He asked. It's a brand new sheath for your katana. Ermac replied. Thank you, Ermac. You're welcome, my friend. Jade and Katana were next to open their gifts. Jade got a brand new razor ring from Kun Lao, and Katana got a steel fan with her name engraved on it from her mother Sindel. Kun Lao got a brand new broadsword. Sindel got a karaoke set. Sonia had got new combat boots and gloves. Jax got a new machine gun. Johnny got a new pair of sunglasses. Sub-Zero received a miniature ice sculpture of himself, which does not melt. Raiden got a new staff, Ashra a little voodoo doll of Raiden, which she could use to torture Raiden if you have never listened to her, and Ranoko a small collection of dolls of the warriors. There was only one left, who was Scorpion, who was leaning on the fireplace, arms crossed. Katana then approached him, carrying a yellow box. Scorpion raised a brow. What is this? He asked. It's your present from me to you, she replied, handing him the box. Scorpion took the box from her hands and began to unwrap it. He took the lid off the box and saw a steel spearhead with his name engraved on it. Scorpion took it out of the box and admired at the expert-crafted spearhead. He smiled under his mask and looked to the princess. I had my mother's blacksmith made it for you. I hope you like it, she smiled sheepishly, a small blush appearing on her face. Scorpion smiled warmly and placed the spear back inside the box. I love it, thank you, he replied. Katana brushed and giggled a tiny bit. Hey look, Sub-Zero said, pointed out atop the fireplace. Both Katana and Scorpion looked up and saw a mistletoe. They both looked down and towards each other's eyes wide. Oh, mistletoe, Sindel giggled like a schoolgirl. The others began oohing while Johnny and Jax made kissing noises. Scorpion looked at the princess, who was smiling at him. Her mask was already off. Scorpion sighed and took off his mask, and they both leaned forward until their lips pressed against each other's. The others then and went to ooh like a studio audience does in a television show. Scorpion and Katana broke apart, and they looked at each other's eyes. They both backed away a little, blushing and smiling sheepishly. Oh, it is the mighty Scorpion blushing, Sub-Zero taunted. Shut up, Scorpion spat, placing his mask back on. Katana then walked towards Jade and stood next to her, her blush still on her face. So now that we open presents, snowball fight, Sub-Zero shouted and created a snowball in his hands. You're on, Jax shouted and ran outside, Sub-Zero falling behind. We want to play too, Sindel and Jade exclaimed, running out the door along with the others. Kenshi's on my team, Kun Lao said, walking out the door. No fair, he should be on my side, Ermac whined. Scorpion and Katana were left inside the house, still blushing. Katana looked towards Scorpion and smiled. So, you're a pretty good kisser, she teased. He scratched the back of his neck and blushed slightly. Yes, well, thank you, he replied. Both of them inched their bodies closer and closer until they were close enough to reach each other. Katana held into Scorpion's hand. Scorpion only smiled and walked with Katana out the door, hand in hand. Merry Christmas, Scorpion, she said sweetly. Merry Christmas, Katana, he replied. And that, my pretties, was Mortal Christmas, a Mortal Kombat Christmas special story written by Super Silent K. Now, this is the same author that I have narrated his two other stories, one of them being Raiden's Birthday and Raiden's a Daddy, which this is the same author who wrote those two stories. I gotta definitely say this is a really good Christmas story. I thought it was really, really sweet too. Like, I personally really enjoyed this story a whole lot. I thought it was a pretty good story. Now, I did notice that there were a few grammatical errors in this story and a few punctuation errors, but it was still readable nevertheless. And I personally do have to say that it's a really awesome story. I mean, I personally like the fact where, Raiden and his friends are having a snowball fight. Yeah, that part was so funny. I personally really enjoyed that. So, I definitely do have to say I was looking at some good, Christmas stories because, we're getting around the time where, Christmas is coming around. So, yeah, you will be seeing those. So, there's definitely that. Now, I could definitely say I could see this being the case because, Christmas being celebrated, but not in Neverrealm because, if you guys know the Mortal Kombat lore, you know what the Neverrealm is like. It's basically hell in the sense. But anyways, I really do enjoy this story. I could read this again, and it's just a really good story. I'll leave a link in the description for this story in case if you guys want to go read it for yourself. And this story was made in 2009, so it was like nearly 16 years ago. Well, it will be 16 years by December 26th, day after Christmas, but I at least get to read this because it's just a really enjoyable story. So, the grammar was pretty good, save for the few grammatical errors, and there were a few spelling errors in this story. I did notice that there were a few spelling errors in this story, so yeah, the whole concept is pretty good in that. I personally really enjoyed it. But yeah, this could be edited the what was it? Oh yeah, like the spelling errors could be fixed up, and same with the grammatical errors and punctuation errors. But it was still readable. I personally really enjoyed this story. I thought it was really neat and well done. So, Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year, but the only thing I do not like about the holidays is the stress. The stress, oh my god, the stress really eats me up at this time of the year. But I definitely do have to say is that this is definitely a really good story. If anybody who's a narrator and is interested in reading, Christmas creepypastas, or Christmas stories in general, you definitely really have to check out this story. It's just a really good one. So, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, I'm just gonna sit here and say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that is perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our opinions regards to these it's not really a creepypasta, it's a story, but you get the idea. We're all entitled to our own opinions on these stories, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm gonna give this story a 9 out of 10. Well, it is a good story. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was really neat and well done. I like the concept of it. The grammar was pretty good for the most part, but there were a few spelling errors that I did mention that need to be fixed up, and there were a few grammatical errors that I did notice in this story that do need to be fixed up as well. And there were a few punctuation errors in this story I did notice as well that do need to be fixed. And there's another thing. In the story, Sindel waves her finger, and I had to do the tisking sound because, well, I like tisking, so I know Megalopony doesn't like that noise, but it's pretty fun for me to torment him with it. And I only do this, trolling with Megalo just to be silly. I'm not trolling to be, an asshole, because yeah. I mean, if you've seen people trolling, people like Bill Jensen or Ricky Berwick, you could definitely say there is a limit when it comes to trolling. Like, there's trolling to be silly, and there's offensive trolling. So, yeah. I definitely do have to really say, if you're going to troll people, don't do offensive trolling on them. Like, I do remember, someone started saying, Bill R-worded his niece. That was just disgusting. Like, I don't even know why people both think that kind of trolling is okay when it's not. But yeah, I know I'm getting off topic here, but I just thought I would point out when it comes to trolling. But anyways, what did you guys personally think of this Christmas story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm Shadow the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, if you guys want to go follow me on Blue Sky, follow me on Twitter, follow me on DeviantArt, and follow me on my backup channel known as Mr. Shigo, as links to those will be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And if you have, any stories that you would like me to, take a look at them, you can DM me, whatever be on Instagram or Discord or whatever site that you have me on. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll be catching you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and as always, I will see you all next time, and roll the outro because I'm out. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.